Boa tarde. Boa tarde. Podemos recomeçar agora? As sessões, vamos ter duas sessões paralelas neste momento. O Demo Day das startups do IT Climate Kick. Neste palco do espaço multiusos, que será Green Tech. E aqui teremos connosco o Green Tech Challenge, Green Town Labs, a Sting e a Flat. Pedir a todos agora que se sentassem, principalmente as pessoas que estão agora a chegar. Uma vez mais informo, a Cláudia encontra-se no final da sala. Para as pessoas que quiserem ir para o posto de turismo, para o Demo Day das startups do Climate Kick, podem ir com a Cláudia. Aqui vamos agora realizar a sessão, a mesa redonda das aceleradoras. I'm going to switch for English because every single person that is going to be as a panelist in the next round table speaks in English, unless Joanna, which is the moderator. So I would like to ask for the stage to debate a little bit about what the green to come to the stage. Very from Livada from Greentown Labs, Magnus Ren from Sting, and the moderator Joana Costa from FLAD.
Som? Tá.
First the ladies, right? That's how it goes.
We're past that point, right?
You press the point of ladies first?
Of course.
Oh, never.
Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. We have the hard task of gathering you after lunch, so please keep up. We have today as Sofia in this round table, Vera Garcês, Val Livada, and Magnus Rin. So first, I will ask you for present yourselves and explain a little bit about your green tech accelerators. Ladies first.
Always. Hi, everyone. My name is Vera. I work as a VP of Business Development and Green Tech Challenge. We are a Danish and we run acceleration programs all over the world. Our program basically the startups, you guys that bring the technology, the investors that bring the money that we all need, and the partners, the clients. Make us a little bit different, it's because we bring clients. We work as well in innovation sessions with airports, Rock in Rio for who knows festivals. We work with them to bring your ideas to deploy your ideas in the market. We also have scouting service, so clients often as consulting companies or law companies come to us and say, we need this because our energy client needs to develop this kind of product, and we make the match needed for that to happen. We're going to be in Paris in a few days and Stockholm as well. And we are pretty happy to sustainable buildings, for instance, and we brought Marriott hotel chain to the table, so the startups that are going to be there have clients, which is pretty good. And that's it.
Okay. I'm Val Levada, and I am an advisor. I sit on the board of advisors for Greentown Labs, which is the largest incubator, whatever you want to call it, just place to be in the U.S. And a couple of things are interesting. You know, world where for the longest time nobody thought about places like these, like somewhere that people can go and have space and have mentors and have the entire community around them. But then in 2011, 4 energy startups looking for a place, and they said, well, let's get together and find a place together. We can use similar tools. So they found the basement of a building in a part of Boston that at the time was very cheap. 40 years later, it wasn't cheap anymore. So they had to look for another place. So they started looking around, and the mayor of within the Boston ecosystem, a place called Somerville, is a very forward-thinking fellow. And he said, you got to come here because I'm going to build the next innovation center. So we have Cambridge, you know, that's where all the action is. But Somerville is now competing with Cambridge. So they found an old factory that was abandoned. So it was refurbished, and would start with 4. 2014, there were 40 companies inside of this one accelerator. And just in December, we opened the second building to the old one. Got incredible building startups on the way to being about 120 by February, because the waiting list now is enormous. But just like you, what's interesting is not just the community of startups. There are 4 different, well, at least 4 different communities inside of Greentown Labs, and that's what makes it really a really dynamic place. So you got 95 startups. We have roughly 35 and growing sponsors, and the sponsors are all large companies. Many of them French. You know, Saint-Gobain is there, and Veolia is there, and Ange are there, you know, BASF and all that. But there are, the bottom line is there are 35 global companies that are not only spending, you know, sponsorship money there, I'm in there. And many of them actually have their own spaces in there. So they have people that live in the same community with everybody, all the startups. And that's an increasing taking actually spaces in the Greentown Labs. The next component is we have 6 or so area, and we have about 30 universities in Boston. But the 6 major ones, so MIT, Harvard, Northeastern, Boston University, Tufts, they're all in there with their own things, and they're all people and very active in that community. And then again, just like you have, you know, so they're law firms and accounting firms and software providers and all things like that. And this new type of community, which I think it's going to be the future of innovation. It's bringing all those pieces together in one roof. You know, Boston has done a real good job of attracting, of having that startup ecosystem, of having the universities, research universities there. And then we've attracted all these large companies that send their people to. It's not, even if though it's a small area, having them in these specific verticals is now really making a big difference. So now we have Greentown Labs for clean tech, Lab Central, which is the equivalent for pharmaceuticals and biotech. When we're building something for robotics, that's called mass robotics. So there will be 3 verticals. Now, to date, the ag tech is located at Greentown. We haven't separated that. We haven't, there's a lot of activity on ag tech, but we don't consider it yet as a pure vertical of it.
Limitada. Apesar 6 semanas de estudiar.
That's awesome.
Yeah, yeah. Anyhow, so I come from a company or an organization and a company called STING, Stockholm Innovation and Growth. And it's sometimes since you asked the question, but I will explain what we're doing. So we're an ecosystem, including incubation, acceleration, recruitment, angel networks, VC funds, co-working space. The Stockholm area, which is a very, very hot area for startups. We work within, and I'm responsible for the sustainability part of it, and that includes finding, coaching, launching, internationalization of ideas within this area. Everything from energy efficiency, water treatment, social innovation, solutions for third world development, etc. And we run Stingo Africa programs, we run test drives within sustainability, etc. So there's a big menu of activities we do. Apart from that, or in addition to that, I'm also in a committee in Washington for food, and that's really providing grants to ideas somewhere around the world where they would, with less water, create more food. This being method, training, anything from desalination, and even crops that would withstand saltwater conditions. And it is from Nepal to India to Kenya to Tanzania to South Africa to Uganda to Peru and Vietnam and many other places. And we grant money in order to make them fly. My role in that committee is to evaluate the business viability of the idea. Because if the business is not viable, they will get nothing. Because this is a grant period and then they will take off. Within Sting, we evaluate projects and we coach them if it's in the incubate program, a year and a half, and then they're on their own and fly. And we have a 76% hit rate so far over 16 years. So we've been around. And the sustainability part of it is about 20 to 25%. So we do also life science, ICT, and a few other verticals, materials, etc. The challenge I see, if that was the question, the challenge is really to not only overcome the valley of death, which is very common, but the and market acceptance. So we need test beds, we need obviously funding, public funding primarily, in order to kickstart them, but we need money after the first angel investment. So a smaller A round, an A round, and that's very hard, which requires market traction, proof of having a very small domestic market, Sweden, which is very similar to the Portuguese market. It's exactly the same thing. So most companies need to be
more money.
See the global world immediately and make all the decisions in their companies as if they were a global company from day one. So they do not hinder themselves. And this could be done, as Val mentioned, through cooperation with corporates, piggyback, and also give some cred But there's so many other challenges, and that's why I'm here. I would say the last here is that we, on this planet, we spend billions of dollars to see if we can find life on another planet. We spend trillions of dollars to destroy the life that's here. Does that make sense?
So thank you, and I hope the audience took notes. And please do see the websites; they have very interesting programs for the startups. And besides what Val said and the network around it, what do you think it takes for the successful?
Well, I mean, what we're finding out is that at least in the eastern part of the country, the California guys are a little different, but venture capital community in the Boston area and in New York, the United States, for the last 10 years or so, has stopped investing in anything that's not software and IT and media and you know, what I consider the easy way out. Don't take it wrong. But so we decided that there's a part of the world that's called hard tech. So in hard tech, you got water, you got to a certain degree ag tech as well, materials. And all of those sectors, robotics, are not getting the full support of the venture community, the private venture community in Boston. Although in ag tech in particular, some of the very big funds in Boston are beginning to be very active in ag tech. There's a problem of funding, because it takes a lot of money to invest in assets. Now, by the way, put pharmaceuticals aside, because the venture community is willing to invest in that. That's different. But for these kinds of things, it takes a lot of money. It takes a lot of asset investment. It takes a long period of time. And we're beginning to think, unless you have a strategic partner, the way to market is very, very difficult. The biotech community, the pharma community has learned that a long time ago. So, you know, drug development is happening and it's ending up in the big pharmaceutical companies. So we're thinking that that's what's going to help this hard tech sector. Now, I'll give you another example that's interesting. So about 2 years ago, the president of MIT decided this was going to do something about it. So MIT raised a $200 million fund to invest in hard tech. And then they opened up an incubator that's called, both of those pieces were spun out of MIT, so even though MIT still kind of oversees it, they're independent. But again, it's another place for hard tech to incubate in, and also get investments directly from the engine fund. Interestingly enough, MIT and very wealthy people put the rest of it very quickly. They actually had to cap it at 200 for the first time, because there were people with checks in hand wanting to be part of this. So, but we're struggling with this because it is hard. But we're finding out that these large companies, whether it's a Siemens or a BASF or whatever, in very many situations are wonderful. They're wonderful partners in co-development, where they can support certain stages of development. They make equity investment. They develop partnerships to go to the market. And in certain cases, they acquire the company at a certain point or another. But I really think that the whole innovation ecosystem is based on is now collaborative. And if you, technology is being really incubated early in the research centers, which in the US are primarily the universities. One out of the universities by entrepreneurs, and it's then being partnered with by large companies. And when those three things work together well, then things move.
Magnus, what is the key to success?
The key to success for the
It's
having the with the right team. No, I'm just kidding. But the key to success right now is to be perceived as a digital company, because if it requires investments, then invest solutions, and there are lots of digital solutions. And if it's not digital, it could be a hybrid, where whatever you're selling creates information and you own the information. So it's a SaaS service or a cloud service or something, and you deliver whatever your clients or customers want, but of the aggregated data, because that's your second business model, and it won't come immediately, it will come later. So to be adaptive, be slightly opportunistic, and then I think, unfortunately, that you have to follow trends. You have trends coming and going, and if you're in the right position at the right time, that is, if you're on the front of the wave surfing, then you get investors, because they are followers. They go in groups, in crowds. So you have to monitor what kind of trends do I see, and what kind of solutions are hip or in, etc. Other than that, more believe in your idea, that you have verified the problem. You ask the customer, what is the problem, at least 4 times. And the last answer is the only one that's proper. And then you address that problem in a way that you generate money. They're saving money, making money, and then there is a payment possibility. Then you build your team, you build your channel, go-to-market strategy, and you select the right investor who can really open up doors and can follow you over time. So there are lots and lots of things. But in terms of green tech, as you call it, or sustain tech, as I call it, a matter of verifying what is our time ago, you increased your production by increasing your acres. Then you started to increase your production by increasing yield. Then you start to increase your production and yield by increasing the way and what you grow. And now you increase your production by growing elsewhere as well. And in terms of, which is part of the securing water, of finding where could we, from smallholder farmers up to larger, increase the yield by, in one example, up to 80%. You cannot do that on a normal, very highly industrialized agriculture setup today, because most of the efficiency improvements have should also look, where does my product, solution, service fit best? Where does it generate the best result? I think I stop there, because I know you have more questions.
My side is the feeling of the startups per se, but one thing that I find it very curious, it's more important for for me that deal with these clients, big clients, for the startup to have to be solving as capability. That means I'm going to give an example so it be clear for everybody. So Idanha is airports. They have 13 airports for a more sustainable cities, because they have cities between in the airports. And they have a huge problem to find a commercial version of what they need. So I had a meeting with issues, and we research worldwide a solution. Does it need to have traction or be commercialized or have a concept or have anything? They have to deal with a problem and to be able to adapt the product enough to be deployed in all 13 airports. So Anna has the funds of UN because they have a lot of pollution they need to solve. Of the questions. Then you have Coca-Cola with I don't know, the plastic, and you have Rock in Rio with full of garbage that doesn't go anywhere else. So they have tons of issues. They are clients, they have money, and most and foremost, I think we lose a little bit of time with hard tech that needs traction, to be able to give that traction to investors for them to put the money on it, instead of looking for a good partner to act. So sometimes it's not only about making several clients, it's to make the right client. In the green tech, I talk with several entrepreneurs, several engineers like yourselves. It's to find the issue and solve it, because solutions is more acceptable than to have a commercial that we can find it anywhere in the internet.
So green tech, especially clean tech, are related with the impact, environmental impact, social impact. That's why this tech vertical is more interesting, or is becoming more interesting, because it solves not only a technical issue, but also improves society.
I think so. In Green Tech Challenge, we have several young people working with us, and they are the next generation. So I'm quite younger than my fellow. Well, it was an easy joke, come on. But I think it's my generation that we need to solve these issues. And that's the end of the line. If we don't have a planet, and we spend billions and trillions to screw the planet. I think the social impact is there. I think young generations to apply their skills in this kind of situations, they want to be able to solve these issues, and they see our program as a society. So yes, and for the corporation's point of view, until 2020, I received all the KPIs for the big sectors, the big four. For instance, they received, we need to change this by 2020. We are going to China now, and China actually is changing, which is amazing. It's amazing. By 2020, they have most of energy, renewable energy, and that was. So, I think, yeah.
There is, you know, I don't know what your perception is of the States, but we are used when it comes to climate and to impact and so on. But don't take it the wrong way, because the great majority of the people involved, and that includes companies, includes investors and so on, firmly believe that this is something. It's a good area to invest. By the way, the biggest chunk of capital that's being invested in anything that has to do with clean tech, green, ag will be later, it's private individuals, big foundations. That's where the big money's coming, and it's huge amount of money. I mean, what the private VCs or the corporates are investing is nothing compared to what family foundations are investing. And these folks have types of investors. Many of them invest because of the principle involved in this social impact investing. And there's a whole movement of impact investing and so on. I feel like it's a good investment, period. But their objectives in terms of returns and stuff like that are totally different than the ones of the private VC community. These guys have a much longer time horizon. They're much more patient investors. They don't want to see a 3-year so on. They're investing because they think that that's a good place to invest. And so there is a lot of money in the States being put into impact investing and green and climate and everything, but is being done by, typically we're not considered as the primary sources of investment in the States.
Right. As for the panel, some of us have, I mean, age is just a digit. Some of us have some more experience than others. Yeah.
I just want to add that Magnus was in the creation of ATA.
That's how old I am, anyhow.
I thought you were saying creation.
Yeah. Never mind. The question was whether impact has a role in clean tech or sustain tech or etc. Of course it has. Look at on one side of the scale, you would have the philanthropist who would gladly give away money because they know that they're going to make an impact, and hopefully this money will change the world. On the other hand, other end of that same scale, you have what I would call the raw capitalist who would gladly invest in a factory as long as they can make money. And in the middle, you would have impact investors. That part of the scale was traditionally quite narrow or quite small, and what we've seen the last 10 years, this part of the scale is growing by the day. So more for return, but they're also looking for impact return. There are more and more measures how you measure impact, which makes it more mathematical, and they can use that as a KPI, or they can use it as a metric. They can prove what they've done other than just the money that's shifted. Is it important to invest in this? By far, of course. That's why we're here. Will it happen? Yes, it will. Is it a risk? Yes, it is, but the risk is getting smaller. And trends and shifts, we know that clean tech or sustain tech is here to stay, because as long as we have a chance to save the planet, this is the solution. And there is not one solution that will save the problem or the problem. It's the combination of all the solutions. I often get the question, in which part of clean tech or renewables or in efficiency or in water or in waste, in smart grids, etc., should I invest? And say any something in the right direction. And there isn't a winner, there are many winners. Then obviously, if you look at wave power, if you look at wind power, if you look at solar power, technology come and go. But the general trend is there, and it's growing enormously. And we should also talk about the US example. Renewable energy is creating more jobs in the US than coal industry or any other stupid industry. So the fact that you're putting your money into coal or fossil fuel is ridiculous. That renewable energy is the way to go. So finally, the impact and the social impact, it's you grow food to get good food to eat and have a good life, and it's the same thing for the planet. You should handle our planet, and because we only have one, and as the shoot-over day, as I said last time I was here, was for consumed all the energy, all the resources during that year that the planet can create. So from 1st of August until 31st of December, we're using something that doesn't exist. If you go to the bank, you can get a bank loan. The planet, but you have to pay it back. You have to pay it back.
Thank you. You're not done yet. I have a few more questions here. So, taking Vera's point about companies solving issues, do you think that this is the way they should go? Not because the doing apps and creating all over the place things, and do you think they should go the other way around, looking for the issues and solving them?
Well, you know, I don't think is just decided to do something because it's fun, or I don't know. They have nothing better to do. I think everybody has identified some issue or something that can change something for the better. So, you know, I worked with issues of innovation and stuff like that. Is it technology push or market pull? You know, is it so? And I've always said no. It's both. Sure, market pull is the key because that's something that you know that it's an identified need and so on. But it doesn't mean that people should not do things that they consider to be really interesting and push that. And it's not a push, you know. It's, look, you're doing something that other people haven't thought about, and supposedly it's going to be better. But you have this brilliant idea, so it shouldn't be all one. But I agree that when you're looking for how you're going to really apply your technology, you got to understand what's their problem and see how yours might fit into theirs. And you know, they should do both. And I think that the big breakthrough things come from a brilliant idea that, and the ones that have efficiency improvement and make things better come from really listening to the user. But you need both. In my opinion, you need both.
I have an example of this situation. So in Copenhagen, the municipalities, they had an idea to deal with the slush. It's what is in the sewers. So it's a mass full of, okay, that needs to be dried with chemicals, right? And they contact us, and we thought that will be a brilliant idea, match them with a brewery. And you guys probably thinking, what? A brewery? Beer and slush? The thing is, these guys on this brewery specifically that compress the grains for them to be very, very dry so they can be disposable correctly. So we put these people together, and this year is the first time in the world that we are using chemicals. And that's where the problem is a commercial situation. It's hard work, a lot of thinking, a lot of man hours putting their engineers with their heads around the issue, but gets the first time in the world that we did that we didn't use chemicals, that we didn't put chemicals on our water and our earth. So I think it's hand to hand. What client need, what the creativity of the engineers that can make those solutions work.
I think the best, obviously, is to compare with selling an aspirin or a vitamin pill. I mean, it's easier to sell an aspirin because somebody has a problem, and that goes also for innovation. But you, as Val rightly pointed it, there has to be experimental type of development or research to problems that we don't even know. I will also share with you an example. I had the honor of being the chairman of a company called Ignitia, who developed out of satellite information weather data weather data that made it possible to make prediction on tropical weather. That's the equator, which is completely different from what we know. It's not high and low pressure. And normal weather forecast in this area, be it the local Met agency, they have a hit rate or accuracy rate of between 30 and 35% if you have 3 different weather systems: sun, cloudy, raining, and even raining hard. And for farmers, especially for smallhold farmers, they need to know when they should plant, when they should irrigate, when they should fertilize, when they should harvest, and if it's cacao, when they should transport, because they are subject. And so Ignitia developed an forecasting prediction system, which is delivered through smartphones. And they subscribe for season, and they pay per season $8, which is nothing. But for instance, we're in Ghana, Mali, Cote d'Ivoire, Nigeria, and only million farmers times $8. That's nice. And the thing is that with this weather forecasting system, the prediction accuracy, whether it's going to rain, sun, sandstorms, etc., is 86%. So it's much more than twice. So farmers wake up, go out, and they look at the phone to see what kind of weather it is instead of looking up. And this is a solution that was known, but nobody had a clue how to address the problem until this young female Swede got to start working at NASA and developed the Sweden, and then flew to Accra and developed the system. So I think if you understand the problem but don't know how to solve it, and you really put one and one together, then you have a solution that really, really will fly. And that's amazing, the impact. We're talking about impact that you can do with this type of system.
Yeah, so taking and this is my time because yeah, so we have time. So taking your in his phone, and I know that you are not in AgTech as you are on clean tech and sustainability. And I identify in your accelerator programs that traction and established companies are a criteria. How do you deal with AgTech and food tech companies, because they deal with different timelines, with harvest seasons, so their traction is quite different?
I can give an answer. First of all, doesn't matter, because an investment horizon is more than 6 months. So I think you have to look upon it over several years. Then I would say that an AgTech solution, and there are many, I mean, they could be digital, and then it's a non-issue. It's like energy, I mean, certification solutions, which will take ages before they materialize and start to generate money. So I don't think it's the main difference between AgTech and any other tech. The difference is between how much capital will be needed and how long time before you really break through. I had a company called Cartus. They did a gasification where you put anything in one end and you get high energy synthetic gas out in the other end that you can use in lime, glass, steel industry instead of fossil fuel. Fantastic. It took them 10 years in order to then funded so they can build the first demonstration plant, because the demonstration plant was around demonstrate. So you can imagine what kind of investor would like to take a shot on something that's not even proven. So I think AgTech is easier than some of these examples, and I think that in AgTech there are so many different types of drones, from moisture measurements, from irrigation, from drip irrigation, even new crops that are salt tolerant, like quinoa and potatoes. Or you can have, how do you treat soil that's been damaged by salt? Well, you grow licorice. Easy. But who did know that before? Or I didn't. So there are solutions, and some are very costly, and some are quite easy. The horizon for investment, that's what depicts whether it's hard or not if it's ag or something else tech.
I don't think I can add any more to that. I think you're absolutely right. A lot of the technologies that we're seeing that fall under the ag tech umbrella, actually a lot in the large-scale growing areas, although the biggest success story right now that was funded by one of the smart VC firms, and it's called Indigo, and I think many of you might know it. It's only 3 years old. Its market valuation is 1.6 billion. They raised about $300 million recently. Significantly, the yield of certain crops, they're doing it through microbial manipulation and data together. You know, they needed 1 season to prove the yield, and they planted in one area, and as soon as they got the results from that, you know, hundreds of millions of dollars worth of checks to them. So some things are moving very fast. Other components of it are really they're part, which again is fast, but they're also in other applications like you know, a lot of people are using LEDs for indoor growth, and there's a lot of technology that's changing that, and the flexibility that LEDs give. Growing is big area. Some of it is for interesting plants, high value plants. Yes, right. And you know, there are solutions. There are people that are working in coatings, various types of coatings, that are coating of the interior area, but also the plant itself, and the yields of those plants are going. So a lot of things in the space are they can be turned around very rapidly. So I think that you have a lot of options in this space. It's wonderful, and I think we're just beginning to scratch that surface. Some of them will be very long term. I think that ultimately, you know, Indigo has a good microbiome. Ultimately, is going to take, but the impact is going to turn everything upside down.
You still get answers.
No, I don't have much to add on this. It is true. Are quicker to deploy. Well, it's not a straight answer on that. I will say, depending on what you put in the table and what is the market need at the moment. So I'll not take longer because my fellow colleagues could talk too much.
So thank you all. I would like or Idanha municipality for the event on the beginning, but I will thank you now. Thank you for the invite, and thank you all.
All right, thank you so much. Sorry?
The sun is out.
We are so late, but okay. One small.
Thank you very much from all of you. Just a small comment I'd ask Val, because you mentioned that, but I would like to hear a little bit furthermore. Okay. For the time being, what are the relations between the Boston University researchers and the community of the startups?
Oh, so let me make sure the universities and the startups work together? Yes. Oh, no, they don't. No, look, this is the You know, I'm an MIT guy and a Tufts guy, so you know, in the 60s, it was MIT exclusively, and it's now every single university in the Boston area in the whole country. So the university is the one that retains the intellectual property, and they have the ownership of the patents. And they make it available to anybody who wants to come. MIT has a very, in some respects, a very liberal policy. So bottom line is, they will file all the patents. A patent is licensed to a startup, MIT will defend that patent if it has to be defended in court, which is a big thing for a lot of startups. But all you got to do, you can go online, you can find out all of the MIT patents that are they will immediately respond, and the licensing process is incredibly easy and cheap. They don't want upfront money. They want just a little bit of upfront money, royalty too, because, and this is a little universities. The mission of the, and there's a license, it's called the licensing office. And the licensing office will, the mission of the licensing office is not to make money off the patents. The mission is to push out MIT technologies, and that creates an incoming amount of research dollars, because everybody says, oh, well, look at this. We got to put more money. So they get measured on how much money, research money is coming in, now how much they're making out of it. Now, from time to time, they get lucky. It's a lot of money. But you have to have a very large portfolio to do that. But all the universities have the same thing. They have slightly different patterns, but overall, look, the research is now happening in the research universities. The large companies are not doing internal research anymore, so this is where the action is. License and export their technology out there to the startups, and it's very simple to do.
Sorry, guys.
All right.
Maybe during dinner.
I'm sorry, everyone. É só mesmo, já estamos com um atraso de 30 minutinhos, é para não aumentar mais o atraso. Mas, por favor, guardem as vossas questões. Vocês conheceram os mentores, mas vocês já conhecem os oradores. Vão falar com eles, aproveitem que tenham questões para fazer aqui um bocadinho de networking também durante as sessões dos coffee breaks, etc. Agora, portanto, nós estivemos na parte das aceleradoras, algumas delas até potencialmente investem nas startups. Portanto, estivemos aqui a falar e a ouvir um bocadinho, a ter um cheirinho daquilo que as startups andam a fazer, com alguns casos de sucesso. Vamos agora passar para ouvir casos de sucesso de startups portuguesas. Pois, connosco vamos ter aqui startups que neste preciso momento já em Portugal. E para isso vou chamar, now I will switch to English because Joseph, you don't speak Portuguese, so I'm going to help you out with this. So I'd like to call right now for the architecture Miguel Matos from Farm Cloud, Mariana from WhatGrid, Daniel Martins from Eco Experience, and of course our dear moderator, Joseph Ridley.
Hello, everybody. It's me again. I'm back. Some of the best ag tech startups from the whole of Portugal. This is the session you've been waiting for. It's going to be exciting. Their ideas are going to warm up this slightly chilly car park and hopefully get you excited and ready for the coffee break. So, to kick off, I would introduce yourselves briefly and tell us the problem that your startup is tackling, how you tackle it, and how the business model works. We'll start with you.
Sure. Hi everyone, I'm Daniel Martins from Eco Experience. So we are of the University of Coimbra. One partners, 3 PhDs in chemistry, and me, I'm an architect, so I'm quite the opposite of what they are doing. But actually we started out as an investigation of our partners, and we are trying to solve, actually we are solving a solution, we are solving a problem which so in 2017, 98% of the oil that we use in our houses went down the drain or to waste. 2% was recycled. We started out with this problem, and then we tried to come up with the solution. There's plenty of solutions right now, solid soaps, biodiesel, and we started doing liquid detergents, ecological ones actually, which is the most amazing thing. So we used cooking to clean. Our business model, to be honest, it has shifted quite a bit in the last, I don't know, 6 months. I think it's something the business model, because someone comes up with an idea to invest money in you, and they say, okay, I will invest money in you guys if you do this, and then it's a dilemma. And is that we can create a circular activity with the restaurants, meaning that we can take the advantage of having cooking oil, and they need a lot of detergents. So what we are going to do, hopefully in the next 6 months or something, is that we are going to implement a logistic network that will translate into something very, very simple that before. So right now the restaurants, they get the detergents and they ship our fines if you don't. And that represents 2 visits with 2 different entities. So we want to be the entity that connects everything. So we get the used cooking oil from the restaurant, and then we process the oil, we transform it into detergents, and we sell it to the restaurant, the same restaurant, at a discounted price. So we close the circle, okay? Fortunately, we don't use all the oil that we need in order to even make money selling the excedent of oil. So, and that's it.
Very cool. Very cool indeed. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Over to you, Mariana.
Hello everyone, my name is Mariana. I'm here in representation of WhatGrid instead of Rogério, that is the CEO of the company. So to give some context, I'm an intern of communication in the company. So the company has 4 years. It started as a PhD thesis to monitor water in real time. So with this idea, there was someone that started to what you can monitor more, what you can do more with that technology, and someone suggests wine. Wine is actually a really huge sector industry in Portugal and also in Europe. They start to think in the idea. To think, well, why not? If we can monitor water, we maybe can. The bet actually now is not the water as a business, even though here in Idanha is what we are doing. We have the sensor, so the technology to monitor the aquaponic system in real time. digitize the winemaking process. So we will have sensors that monitor all the winemaking process in real time. They collect data, about 5 parameters like turbidity, color, density level, and temperature. For competition, and basically we deliver that information to the cloud, and from the cloud to the enologist or to the winemaker in real time. So you just can access all the information anywhere, anytime. So that's it.
Hi, my name is Miguel. We started FarmCloud 2 years ago, me and my two co-founders. Development for hardware and communications since 2002. We are quite old, all the three of us. The other one for the platform and for the cloud. We have previous companies. I met them because I had specific needs in other businesses. And we decided that one day we would have a company, the three of us. Normally we are waiting for the first one. Maybe it will be AET Capital. What we for poultry and pigs, so confined production of animals, a lot of technology is already in use back for 25 years ago. So since the 80s or 70s, creating a lot of data, so temperature, humidity, CO2, feed intake, water intake, everything is already controlled because that's the way they are raising the animals. And the problem was how to take that data out of the farm. We decided that we could have a solution for this because mainly the three big players, there are three big groups, they have 80% of the market, maybe 20 companies, but at the end, it will be one of these three groups doing the production of the animals, but quite bad on the tech. So we wanted to have something very easy to install with no risk for the client because it's a plug-and-play solution. And what we've done, we reverse engineering all the proprietary communication protocols of these companies. So today we are able agnostic platform that can receive information from old or new farms and from any of these big players. Then we decide to do also the farm monitor when you don't have any kind of technology, mainly for pigs. But as we see it and as it goes, most of the production, professional production of animals will be confined. So we are attending this specific market because the technology is already there. We can attend rabbits and mushrooms and anything else because as soon as we can receive the information in our platform. In the platform, this is the art part. That's where we are really different from anyone else in the world. Because then we can do whatever we want. So alarms, we can have automatic reporting. We can do, of course, having enough data, we can start with artificial intelligence and automate. We can also change and improve all the algorithms for the animal production. And we can do this worldwide, how many, or not, it's not a problem how many production rooms we'll have. We identified, at the end, when we present this to the persons, they say, but what is the interest of the data? We can impact in transportation, so on the feed mills, on the logistics, on the slaughterhouse, we'll have impact in everything and we'll change all the processes. But as we must give the client, and the client can be the farmer, the one that raised the animals, but mainly they are the integrators. In Portugal, it will be a Luziaves, for instance, or a Valor. So what we intend and what we've done, we are presenting them the. So we have for the production, so for the money, also for the animal welfare and for the environment. So we are market indicators, and this way you can tell our client how he's doing. So red, green or yellow, and then you can go and drill down and see where is the problem. and that's what we are doing for now, and of course aiming to do a lot of automatization and prediction on top of the data.
You can see with these 3 startups, you're able to have the kind of most sustainable, most resource efficient fried chicken meal with a glass of wine that you could ever dream of. Exactly. So thank you for that. So entrepreneurs is that you've got your success here in Portugal. And you know, everyone knows about the Silicon Valley ecosystem, but it'd be great to hear your opinions on what it's like being an early stage startup in Portugal. What have been some of the things that you've really benefited from? Start with you.
Well, there's a lot to be said on this fourth company. The 3 first companies were a complete failure, which is amazing because I learned a lot with them. Thank you. Usually, that someone once said that in order for you to be a successful entrepreneur, you need to crash 3 companies. So yeah, I did that. So
investors, listen up. He's ready.
I'm putting everything on this one. No, but the funny thing is, and me being an architect, so it's not a logical path for me to be in a lab. So we share our IESE. I don't know if you guys know, it's in Penella, near Coimbra, which is an amazing one. So we won the first prize and we are incubated there. And I'm sharing the same office space with our guys, with the lab, and pretty much everything is going on the people that we have been speaking to, and even a couple of days ago we had the chance to speak with someone from the MBA of ISEG, and fortunately he gave our company as an example for the final exam of that class. And actually we were discussing the lack of, not of opportunity, funding, okay? And in Portugal, I don't think it's difficult to raise money. I mean, if you are up for it, if you really go and do more and go for it. Choose not to have a fixed income and to go for it. Talking about the fact that in when you are 16, 15, 16, at least when I was 15 or 16, I don't even knew the word entrepreneur. And now, if you go on, even on social media, the most sought after bachelors out there, aviation pilots, and now it's co-founders and entrepreneurs. Check it out. I read it. It's an article on Tinder. It's a real thing. So it's true. I mean, it's
first-hand experience, or
no. I have actually no, but I mean, it's jokes aside. It's an amazing thing to do, to be an entrepreneur, but it's also a very hard thing. If someone here wants to start the normal job that they have every day, my only advice is just go for it, because there's lots of money. We just got funded in last April by the PE 2020, so we are running a project of 700,000 euros. Fortunately, project. So we are going to, as I said earlier, we are converting oil. What we want for people to do is for them to do it at home. So those 98% of oil that go down the drain, we want to make it less and less and less. Okay, we are developing a tablet, like a small capsule that people you add oil, water, and you can get detergents at home, which is it's something else. I mean, not only for here, for Portugal and for Europe. They don't have detergents there. They have solid soap, and the ones that have soap, right? The used cooking oil is a real problem in India, in China, and all Asian cuisine. Anyway, going back to the entrepreneurial path, and going back to your question, I mean, I think I've said it all. It's not an easy path, but if you really want to, you can do it. I mean, it's accessible to everyone.
Great. So it sounds like if you're willing to do the work, there's money, there's a great network. Maybe to flip the question for you two then, when you talk to perhaps entrepreneurs from different countries, what have you found is actually a bigger challenge through doing it here to say in the States or in the UK or France? Ida, you choose.
My point of view is quite different, but we have the advantage being in a small country. It's an advantage, or it can be an advantage. All these tests, not for a startup, because the chicken or the egg, because they are willing to invest if you have clients. If I have clients, I don't need investors. But we have also Portugal in 2020. That's quite important for this stage. And when we started the company, we were looking and chasing the worldwide. So the clients, since the beginning, it was world. The biggest client, we have most projects in Brazil. So, but this is how the market is organized. So the biggest players are in these countries, mainly in Brazil or Spain, for instance. But for the start of the company, if it was because we had previous companies and I sold 2 of them. So and banking also, some financing from the banks, and the Portugal 2020. It would be very difficult because 2 years after starting the project, we're still looking for smart money. So, but because we believe the money is important, but most important is to have the market and the right partners in order to increase our sales and to be successful. That we believe it's the correct one. We strongly believe that we have the knowledge and the experience and of the market also. So with this, in order to fit the business models of our potential partners, but we are pushing always for the same. So in order, someone told on last panel, it's very important to have someone, a strategic partner that can help us thrive in the particular markets. So that's what we've been doing, and the main players, and that's why we'll be able to be really a worldwide company. But it's quite difficult. I've done some accelerations, small programs with Green Tech, for instance. Here in Idanha, we didn't find where to fit us because it's poultry and pig. And the contacts and that it give us. And I believe more and more, and for instance, the Web Summit is quite important for us because when we are speaking with those big players, they see us now as a technological country, someone that can deliver something interesting also on that part of. The Prime Minister, one of the days we were discussing the Web Summit, he was asking, what can we do different in of the Web Summit? And I told him, nothing. I believe that what we are doing is good. Now we must change from, in Portuguese, capital de risquinho para...
Yeah, you don't need to translate it for
me. I know. Just kidding. Because it's the fund. How to say the image of the country. So if we are a small country, normally the venture capitals, they have a fund that is a small, so of course. But if you don't have the clients, you must have some kind of investment. And that's it. I know, that's why I'm always looking at him.
Yeah, do you have anything to add there?
Well, I guess I don't have much more to add, but I think even though Portugal is a small country that may face some difficulties, we have the ideas, we go after their projects, their businesses, and we already were owner of half of the world, so even so we were. I guess we continue. It's not the size of the country that will stop us to conquer the world.
No, definitely so. And being from also a tiny island nation, that we had a large empire as well. So I'm told, or try to tell myself. So not only do we have three kind of entrepreneurs here, but it sounds like some of you have had loads of ventures, and whatever city you are in the world, there's incubators and accelerators that are kind of popping up left, right, and center. Good, some of them really bad. What has been your experience of this kind of the ecosystem of accelerators, incubators, and kind of what have you felt has been missing, and would you put in if you built your own one?
That's an amazing question, actually. If I built an accelerator, well, let's when. Miguel, you raised a lot of good points. I'm a hopeless romantic, and I'm very optimistic. Sometimes it doesn't help at all. But this to come back to the accelerators. I've been in two incubators, and I had contact for 2 years, 16 and 17. And there was an accelerator there. I can speak for that one. I was not part of it because it was for really high-tech solutions. Government, they set out this accelerator, and it was a 3 months program. So they got 7 areas of the government, so transportation, water, public services, blah, blah, blah. And then they gave 1 million euros or dollars, I don't remember, to each startup, to one of 7 startups to solve the problems of these. An entire building, just for these 3 months. They called it the I don't know what accelerator. They put everyone living there. So they got people from abroad, from the United States, from China, from everywhere in the world, to help entrepreneurs, rockstar entrepreneurs, to solve those problems in, I think it was 3 months. So I don't think this works very well in real life. I mean, it works in Dubai. In Coimbra, what I think we are doing very well is to get a, and actually I was in the internationalization talk earlier, and actually we saw that in Boston you get the MIT, the several places of the university, and then you have the companies around. I mean, just think about that. If you are going to be a student, it's like across the street. And people have yet to realize, especially in Portugal, that companies need to go to universities, because it goes both ways. Students are going to feel more compelled to go and speak with the big companies, and big companies are going to be closer to the projects. I mean, sometimes even the ideas, because a startup with a business model, just an idea. A very clever guy or a brave one. I think that's what's missing, especially in Portugal in some of the areas.
Great, thank you. Mariana, what do you think?
Okay, in case of Wattgrid, we participated in the accelerated programs with BGI, the Last Climate Kick, and now our offices are in an incubator. So we for sure took as much advantage as we could of this. So important for us to reach where we are, all these accelerated programs, and because they give us the tools, they teach us, so they put us in contact with the right. We had the idea. Some of the business born in the university, so by engineers or by architects or by designers, so people that don't have the background of a business. Should do how? So for sure that if we are trying to do this idea grow as a business, if we can to take advantage of accelerators and incubators, of course, I guess it's the most positive way to help us to grow.
Super. Bits, Miguel, that you focus on.
I believe the problem is the focus. Because I receive, I don't know, at least an email from accelerators and specific programs for startups. By now I'm applying for 2 of them, but because one is Techstars, so normally it works, and they've done a lot of pressure from the beta already. So I met all the mentor and the sponsor and everyone. Of Telefonica, they have a client or the sponsor, let's call it client like this, that is willing and is looking for a specific solution. So they have the problem. I believe we have the solution. So it's quite interesting because at the end, I believe it will be a win-win. The problem normally is that if you are just looking for the money or for also some knowledge or contacts, at the end you can lose yourself. So we have done some. We are. But very focused on what we can deliver and what is the clear advantage we can give to the client or to the program, but normally you have the sponsors behind, so that's that.
So it sounds kind of like really specific vertical, good mentors, things like that. There's some of that happening, but something. Before I open it up to the floor for questions for you, obviously you spend your in front of him a bit of money from them, and at EIT Food and Climate Kick and all these, we're really interested in, I guess, where the big trends are going to be when it comes to changing the nature of food, addressing climate change, things like that. And so given your deep knowledge in this area, I was going to flip it around for a second and be, if you had $10–20 million to invest, and the aim of your investment was to sustainably feed 10 billion people by 2050, where would you be putting your money right now? We'll start with you this time.
Okay. So you want ideas for yourself?
Exactly that. I'm taking notes. So,
so for sure. No, I believe that I've seen in Portugal, and just looking for the ecosystem of the startups in Portugal, I've seen some companies in all of these issues. But to collect the information and how to optimize the processes, it will be, and it will have a huge impact. How to be able to but also keeping in mind the sustainability of everything. That's why also we thought about the dashboard, because when you look at corporate, the ones I know better because of the business where we are, you have the consumers, ourselves, the investors, putting a lot of pressure in order to have the right information about what's happening first, but also to be sure what we are eating at the end. So being a huge issue and where we can find the money to put in, you'll have a lot of companies to choose from, I believe. And the problem normally is where each company is different from everyone else. Because the problem, you have, but when you look globally, you'll find hundreds of companies doing the same. So I believe the focus must be where this specific company is really different from the other ones. I'll put my money on those.
Great.
Okay, so I guess I'm not the right person to, because I don't spend, thank God, a lot of time in front of the investor for that. But let's say, once again, considering the case of Portugal, two main sectors that I guess startups in this area, if I had the money, I would apply. That would be in the area of agriculture and the blue economy, so the ocean. Portugal has the most amazing area to explore, the ocean related, and I guess is not well. So I would, for sure, ideas, startups related with these two areas, I guess would be where I would put €1 and then I will become an investor. So then you can come to me.
Okay, well, definitely if you wave 10 million to our company, we are going to not change the world, but at least we'll change something, definitely. Okay. To reduce a ton of waste. Very trendy thing right now. We are trying to avoid the use of plastics, at least one-time plastics. As you all know, you buy detergents, you use it once, and then it goes to the trash. And it's actually very bulky, so it occupies a lot of space. So our solution would translate into avoiding the circuit. I believe that the recycling process is very bear with me, okay? It's a very bad one because it's not optimized and it's imperfect. Use or even to avoid in the first place, and then you can make a difference. So going back to your question, we would recycle a ton of oil and have the best brand of 100% biodegradable detergents in the world, which we do have right now, but no one knows about it, okay? But they will.
Amazing. Thank you very much. So it sounds like we have 3 businesses to invest in right here, and they're all going to help us transform bigger topics, how you can use data to do traceability in the food system, how we can do interesting stuff with blue economy, which I think is exploited or untapped at the moment. And then I agree. The big wake-up question is definitely going to be plastics and how we can move to a kind of post-plastic world. So great ideas. We've got about 5 minutes left up here, and would love to give you, the audience, a chance to ask any kind of burning questions. Anybody out there with a question? Gonzalo.
Just a simple question. If you could change, what would you change?
With the exception, of course, of the mayor of Idanha, I believe, most of the politics, yes. But not the ones that are here with us, of course. Those they are good. The other ones, just the other ones. No, I believe that we are taking the good steps now, and Portuguese are very good. So, or the Portuguese decide to do something, they do it quite well, and we are. When I say different, we are able to differentiate ourselves from most of the other countries or persons. Normally it's a problem of focus, and then to have the right support to be able to win and to have success. But I believe in the past years it will help also some of the startups or the companies that now are unicorns, Portuguese ones are started by Portuguese. Persons are more aware of what's going on, and so then we have more opportunities for ourselves that are starting and with the good for now.
Any other changes you'd like to make?
The one-use plastics, at least 90% of it, because it's easier and it can be done. Yeah, it can be done. I mean, it has been done in Costa Rica and I think in Kenya. So we can do it too. We have a lot more technology. Ficava tudo igual.
Questions from the audience.
It's a technical one for Miguel. No, for Daniel. For Daniel. The logistics of the oil gathering, you just go with the truck to the restaurants, pick the oil, and you have a storage facility to work. It's simple like this?
Well, yeah. Suppose question, by the way.
The oil collection is just by car, grabbing the oil?
There are companies that collect oil nowadays, and they are profitable. Well, depending on the price of the oil, but yeah, most of the times they are. So what we want to do is to take advantage of the visit that is done to the restaurant. That euros per visit, everything accounted. So in the same visit, we want to collect the full containers of oil, deliver the detergent, and then we will deliver the empty containers of oil, pick up the full ones, deliver the full empty ones. So closed loop of plastics and one single visit. Scheduled visits, because it's something that usually it doesn't happen. So if you go to a restaurant, they don't know when the company is going to drop by to collect the oil. It's quite a mess. So yeah, I mean, it's more of a logistics effort than a commercial one. Okay. Sorry?
It was what defined the business, the defining of the plan was about.
It's the only way for the business to work. Yeah. Otherwise, you are competing with two groups of companies. Detergents. Okay. The ones that sell detergents will step on us like the cockroaches we are, right? Okay. And the guys that collect oil, the same. Well, the same. Probably even worse. So we want to make something very logical, but obviously it will take some market share of those two industries. Hopefully a lot.
Okay. Thank you.
Just another question building on your comments. So, have you used IoT to control the level of oil in the containers? Because instead of making, let's say, a planning, okay, we're going there on Friday, and then the level is still at 50% or 30% or 80%, we have technology putting IoT stuff that, okay, go now and even make a route, you know, tell you the GPS wise. You know, we have guys in the room that do that. Do you, tell us what's the stage of
it's another very important question. We should do this more often because you guys you bring a lot of value to the company. The thing is that we have already thought about that. Actually, we thought about We thought about, okay, let's make a machine, like a kick-ass machine to have, and the machine will do the detergents by itself, connected to the internet, super simple. We have the right partners in Coimbra, guys that applied the same type of technology in vending machines, by the way. Completely changed the market of vending machines, and they have everything in the cloud. So the logistics is fully optimized. Going back to the sensors, we have thought about that. I believe the sensors, I mean, price-wise, and hopefully in the next couple of years, we will be able to have 30, 40 liter containers at the top with a proximity sensor in order to see where the level is and to optimize the route. That will happen. To happen. We will talk. That's it. I mean, I think it answers your question.
Amazing. And then we'll close it up.
So again for Daniel. So you mentioned, sorry.
Entrepreneurs really are.
Well, it's so you talked about you guys go to the restaurants and they're going to give the detergents, but is this only for me? As an example, I don't have a restaurant, but I'm interested in that, and I myself only use biodegradable. Forgot the word.
Ecological,
yes, exactly.
Biodegradable.
Thank you. And for example, I would be interested in that, and I'm sure that many other people, if they know about it, they will also be interested about it. So, yeah. Is it only restaurants, or you do also? Or are you gonna extend to that?
Yeah. So we are selling. The reason being is that it's very good to get 700,000 from the European Union, but what most of the people don't know is that 30% you need to pay it off after a while, right? Because they just give you 70% or 69 or something like that. So we will need to come up with a ton of money, and in the meantime, what we started out by doing. Finished product, which is the 100% biodegradable, ecological, super spectacular liquid detergents. Yeah, and we have 7 of them selling in our website. Actually, more than 20 liters, we ship it for free in Portugal. You can buy it in 5-liter containers, 1 liter, 5 liters. If you buy 10 or 20, when you finish the container, we will actually make container and we deliver the full one. Okay, we can do it right now. We are doing it right now. If you don't want to buy 20 liters or even 5, we started by selling in, I don't know how it's what's the name in English, but lojas a granel, bulk stores. Yeah, selling. We are in 9 locations right now. And every week we add 1 or 2 locations because we just started 2 months ago selling like this. So yeah, you can buy the detergents.
Amazing. So we're about to run out of time, but thank you very much for your questions. Miguel from FarmCloud, Mariana from What Grid, exactly. I was thinking Wine Grid, but it's What Grid. Exactly. And also to Daniel from Eco Experience. It's been a pleasure to hear about your startups and your successes, and we look forward to hearing more about how it goes in the future. Thank you very much.
So much to all of you for this roundtable. So actually, we are almost making is that right now we actually are 10 minutes away from the EIT food competition. So we will have 10 startups, those that have applied for EIT food, pitching in around 12 minutes. So we actually have coffee break upstairs. If you feel like staying here, please do. We will start in 12 minutes sharp. For all the startups that will pitch and still did not give us the pitch deck, the PowerPoint of Régie and give it and identify with your name. We are going by alphabetic order. Okay? Thank